What's up guys, ZiSotto here, and today we are talking about the current top 5 junglers. As SPL is starting today, we'll approach this primarily from the competitive side and look at what junglers are most effective on a competitive level of play, but a lot of this also translates over into your ranked or your casual games, and a few other mentions will be made throughout the video for those gods that are more suited towards the casual or ranked side as well. This list is for patch 5.4 and we can probably expect some gods to be changed in the next patch, at least to a minor degree. We'll get to that at the end of the video, but it should probably not drastically impact these placements unless there's some massive overhaul. I myself only have very limited insight into the competitive side of things. As you can probably already tell from the title, I brought someone with me so that we can actually get some more information right from the source.
Hey guys, for those of you who don't know me, my name is ALPHAJACKAL. I am the coach of Team Rival in the Smite Pro League. I've been the coach for about 15 months now.
I've actually wanted to bring ALPHAJACKAL on for quite a while now, and I'm glad he's joining us here. The problem so far was more finding the right topic to talk about. If you have any other things that you would like to hear more from him about, let me know in the comments. We might get him back at some point. For the top 5 junglers themselves, we are splitting the work a little bit. ALPHAJACKAL will be the one talking you through the god, how they fit in the meta, why they are currently so strong and what made them get there basically. And in addition, we'll also tell you how they are typically played and how they can be played to their strength. I, on the other hand, will be concerning myself with the build side of things and tell you how you can build these characters effectively to either make use of the playstyle described or make them work for you in your ranked and casual games. And with that, let's get started.
As per usual with a top 5 list, let's start at the bottom. Coming in 5th place is Susanoo. Season 5 is all about the assassin playstyle, choosing a target and killing them as quickly as you can, and Susanoo embodies that. High DPS from his combo, which is dumping as much of your kit as you can safely do into a target, allows for some quick early kills as well as strong presence in the mid and late game teamfights. Further to that, his ultimate, Typhoon, and his second ability, Wind Siphon, brings strong control and moderate lockdown to the teamfights. His main strength comes in the mid game, when he has a couple of items built, one of which being Crusher. During this time, Susanoo is incredibly dangerous, and with fewer wards on the map, he is able to roam freely and cut people down to size with little to no counterplay. One of the big reasons for Susanoo being on this list, however, is his potential against top mages right now, especially Janus and Thoth, who rely on being at distance or escaping across large swathes of the map. Jetstream will allow Susanoo to instantly teleport to these gods, rendering their escapes useless.
Build-wise, Susanoo is probably the most simple god on this list. He applies a very straightforward ability-based build, where you wanna get a lot of the damage through on-ability effects. As such, you're obviously starting off with Assassin's Blessing for your jungle clear. That will be the case for all of the gods, and I will not mention that for every single one of them later. Then you will build a tier 1 mace along with that, which will be built into a Crusher later on. But before you do that, you want to get your pots, and after you back, you want to first get your boots. With this particular build, you pretty much have no choice but going into Warrior Tabai. Then you finish your Crusher, and you already get a lot of extra damage that way. You have to keep in mind that Susanoo can proc an additional on-hit effect through his passive. In addition to that, he also uses mobility more aggressively than others, as he has multiple mobility tools. That means you can easily achieve 4 to 5 Crusher procs consistently, whereas most other gods can reach a maximum of 3 at best. As such, Susanoo should always prioritize Crusher. The next item on the list is a little bit weaker, but still very strong at the moment, and that is Heartseeker. It just works very well in the context of maximizing burst and should as such be applied in this particular build. After that, you can consider going into Hydra's Lament. This is something you'll probably not see too much in the pro scene, as it is a little bit more risky to apply, but especially on a casual and ranked level, that should still be a possibility for you. If you don't like that playstyle or the enemy team has a lot of healing, there is always Brawler Speed Stick. Especially when healing is present, you should prioritize this option. Gives you even more penetration, so you pretty much cap out, and you will also get a lot more damage out of it. I would not recommend Jones that much here, as you really want to maximize the damage of your in and out combo. After that, in most situations, I would advise for a single defense item. This could either be Magi's Blessing or Mantle of Discord, mostly dependent on if the enemy team has a lot of front-loaded CC or rather a lot of burst. To finish the build up, you can go for some extra damage against anyone that is a little bit tankier at this point, especially through auras, and go for Titan's Bane. If you only want to go for squishies and there are not enough auras present to make Titan's Bane worth your while, then just consider any of the damage options from before that you haven't built yet, or something high power focused that synergizes with his kit.
In at number 4, it's Nemesis. Nemesis has always been an item-dependent god, being strong when synergistic items are available and weak when not. Items like Crusher and Heartseeker synergize very well with her, hence her being on this list, and allow for insane burst and control from her ultimate and from Slice and Dice. Throughout the early and mid-game, Nemesis excels at poking and ganking, and has good mobility thanks to her double dash. During a team fight, Nemesis should be doing one of two things. First option, when the enemy tank engages or gets engaged upon, use your ult to weaken their protections, reduce their health, and allow the rest of your team to burst them down. Or 2, pick an enemy squishy, blink and ult on them, remove them from the fight, maybe even the game if you're far enough ahead. An easy to hit combo, a nice power curve throughout the game, and a variety of build paths, Nemesis represents a great choice for those looking to start their jungling adventure.
As ALPHAJACKAL just mentioned, Nemesis is very flexible when it comes to build. I will throw out a high damage focused option here because I know that's what most of you want to go for, and because it's somewhat similar to the Susanoo build, so it's easier to remember. The first item, once again, that you want to finish is Waratabe. Then afterwards you want to finish your Crusher. In Nemesis' case, this is more due to the fact that she also benefits from the attack speed on top of the other stats. Then, once again, Heartseeker, and then things become a little different. If there's sufficient healing on the other team, or you just want to deal high amounts of ability damage, then you should choose Brawlers, and this should be your go-to item in many situations. Nemesis, however, benefits more from cooldown reduction, simply because she revolves so much around her ultimate. As such, on her, building Jotun's Wrath instead isn't a bad idea either. You could consider Hydra's Lament too, but it wouldn't be my primary choice, as I would try to get as much damage out of the ultimate right away as possible. Then afterwards, once again, a defensive choice, either Magi's Blasting or Mantle of Discord. Due to your ultimate, Nemesis does not have to go into Titan's Bane. If she finds herself attacking tanks, she will still deal decent amounts of damage anyways. As such, if you get to this point of the game and you don't need any specific items, then you can look for even more damage with a Stone-Cutting Sword, which benefits from the attack speed that you have from Crusher as well, or you can go for a Bloodforge. While I won't go too deep into other build paths, it is totally acceptable and viable right now to go into Hasten Katana as well. This is actually something that a lot of pros have been running as of late. And if you want to use that in an earlier slot around the same place where Brawlers or Jotuns is, for example, that is totally fine too, and that can absolutely work for you. It's no longer stigmatized as Hasten Fatalis was before, as the stats are actually very beneficial for Nemesis now, and the extra mobility allowing her to stick to targets better is very helpful, as she doesn't have any hard CC.
Coming in at third place, Serqet. Serqet is in an odd state in the meta right now. While she does have great synergy with items like Heartseeker and Crusher, let's be honest, which junglers don't, she has been thrust into more of a supportive/frontliner role. Her percent health damage from her passive and true damage from her ultimate means she doesn't have to build into as much power as other assassins, and can instead focus on survivability to allow her to control the flow of the teamfight. The madness on her Cobra's Kiss, as well as the stun into knockback on her ultimate, can keep a target locked down just long enough for a kill. Saket also benefits from great mobility, having not just one but two movement abilities in her kit, Deathbane and Ambush, allowing her to keep up the pace and farm, whilst also being able to look for opportune ganks at opportune times. Skilled enough players can use camp timers and ambush to their fullest potential and set up, quite aptly, an ambush for an unsuspecting victim into a free kill, or at the very least, a relic force. Saket should be looking for the enemy mid laners in fights most of the time. A high source of damage, being able to control and keep them away from the fight is a great benefit to her team. She can also look for the enemy carry or jungler if the mid is sufficiently behind, or the ADC/jungler is ahead. Ulting a low health target can guarantee a last breath spread, which can single-handedly win a team fight.
Now when it comes to building Saket, I will mention that in the pro scene, Saket is currently built even more defensive than what I will propose here. There's items like Talaria in the Discord, Winged Blade, an Aura item to help out your tank, Bulwark of Hope, Pestilence, and Relic Dagger being utilized. But as you can tell from this build, your damage will go down a fair bit, and I know that's something that most of you don't like. This is more suited for a team play environment where everything works together in synergy. And as such, we're gonna go for a bit of an in-between option that gives you both survivability as well as some more damage. As Saket is more restricted than others in her basic attacks, we won't go for the usual double on-hit combo here, because both items are to some degree synergistic with basic attacking. Instead, we will start with Talaria, which we can get away with here, and this will give us increased mobility on Serqet on top of what she already has, and then go into Transcendence. This gives her some early power as well as cooldown reduction, which is very crucial for her, giving you this insane damage burst on your 2-1 combo which have these high scalings. After that, you can go into your choice of either Crusher or Heartseeker. After the nerf for Heartseeker, I would generally recommend Crusher. From this point on, you transition into a more tanky build. You can, for example, go into Magi's Blessing and then a Mantle of Discord afterwards. This will give you a balanced mix of a defense, make you a lot tankier, make you not as vulnerable to CC, and gives you a card out when you get low. We finished the build off with a Relic Dagger for even more survivability through the massive amount of extra health, some extra cooldown reduction, and the ability to use your Blink ult combo a lot more often, as your relics will have a decreased cooldown. You also get some movement speed as a bonus, so you'll be even harder to catch.
Claiming the silver medal, it's the only non-assassin to make the list, Harbois. Harbois has blasted his way into Season 5 right to the top. A 3-second cooldown on his primary clear and damage tool, Water Cannon, means he's always prepared for a fight, as well as having great clear timings. Being a mage, he has access to survival and damage-oriented items like Warlock Staff and Book of the Dead, meaning he can safely engage on the backline whilst not needing to worry about being a glass cannon. He has tremendous burst from his water spout into either Water Cannon for poke or Crushing Wave for committing to a kill combinations. His best attribute, however, comes from his Atlas of the Yellow River, commonly called as Carpet. Gaining 50% move speed, immunity to slows, and slowing enemies for 50%, it's a devastating ability when used correctly, and whilst its cooldown did get nerfed recently, going from 10 seconds to 12 seconds, he still has all the benefits just listed to it, and in my mind, is one of the top 5 abilities currently in Smite. For teamfighting, look for any squishy target you can, blink on them, knock them up with your water spout, and obliterate them with Crushing Wave, using your water cannon afterwards if needed. Your Atlas of the Yellow River should follow up from the combo to either chase deeper into the teamfight with your short cooldowns, or escape from using a dive-heavy combo.
As the only mage on the list, Harbois' build is a bit of an outlier. Both Pen Boots and Shoes of Focus are absolutely fine. In this case, I will recommend Shoes of the Magi, because the rest of the build kinda synergizes with it more. After that comes a bit of a surprising item, and that is Warlock Staff. Apparently, in the pro scene, it has been used effectively quite often, even on a jungler, and they were able to get sufficient stacks, and the item is so highly valued simply because of the late game damage and survivability it offers at the same time. This cannot really be achieved through any other items to the same degree, so there's not really a way around it in that context, unless you want to go full glass cannon. Afterwards, the items that you want to have in your build are Soul Reaver, because it has insanely high power and gives you that extra burst through its passive. Divine Ruin in almost any matchup, as it has the extra penetration and power, and there's at least a life-stealing character in almost any team. If not, you can consider Spear of Desolation. You want a Book of the Dead for extra survivability, an Obsidian Shard to deal with tankier targets. The order of these items here is a bit up to you and mostly depends on the matchup, especially how much magical defense is being built.
Time for some honorable mentions. Ravana finds himself here, having been at the top going into Season 4 Worlds. The fall from grace is partly due to the nerfs he received, mostly however it's due to meta shifts, where bursty assassins are more heavily favoured than bruisery warrior jungles. Ravana can still fit that assassin style of role, but has a much harder time keeping up with the burst potential of a true assassin. Ao Kuang also just misses the top 5 cut. His early jungle clear isn't that great, and at times can be mana intensive, forcing him to decide whether he wants to gank or clear, as at times he cannot do both without the use of mana pots or rushing an MP5 item like Doom Orb. His strength, however, lies in the late game and his insane burst onto tanks, essentially taking a god out of the game and turning it into a 5 vs 4. Hombat barely missed out on this list. The Howling Monkey has always been a mainstay in the jungle thanks to his huge control from his ultimate ability, Fear No Evil. Being able to control a teamfight for a few seconds, however, doesn't immediately give him a spot on this list. His over-reliance on crit chance passive in the early game is a big source of frustration, as most of the time a kill will be dropped simply because you did not crit. His passive also comes into play when talking about jungle clear, as he again relies on it to clear faster than any jungler out there, otherwise it is mediocre at best. The wind-up on overhand smash is a big disadvantage as well, as any target can maneuver out of the way or interrupt this ability, save for a few gods like Zeus and Ra. Most of the time, Hombat will be picked for his control and setup from his Fear No Evil ultimate. Finally, standing at the top of her Paolao, it's Darji. Having a 100% presence in scrims, almost all of which are bans, Darji has an insane amount of presence on the battleground. Her early clear is great, being one of the fastest in the game thanks to her Torture Blade's passive, and her early mid-game kill potential is one of the highest, thanks to her teleporting onto specific targets with Trickster Spirit or blinking on them, combined with the burst she has on her horrible burns. The main crux of her control, however, comes from the aforementioned Pow Lao, her ultimate. By blinking into a team fight and using the ultimate, she forces the enemy team to pop a few relics and or ultimates just to avoid being pulled in and demolished by the rest of her team, or even just her herself in the late game. We've talked about Heartseeker and Crusher multiple times on this video, but Daji takes it to a whole new level, with the bleed from a passive, from horrible burns, from Crusher and Heartseeker proccing on that ability, combined with the fact that she could auto-attack cancel into the horrible burns. Most squishy characters are dead instantly without the use of an Aegis, Shell, or Meditation. In teamfights, simply do what was just mentioned. Blink in and ult, force out the relics, and try to burst whoever gets pulled. Alternatively, she can engage on the backline and kill the enemy ADC or mid laner before they have time to react.
Now in the context of Daji, you may be wondering, but hey, she could already do all of these things last season, right? Well, aside of a few item changes like Crusher that make her life a lot easier, there has also been a drastic meta change when it comes to jungle. Assassin Burst is much more valued, as AJ has already said before, but also early game fighting, especially level 1 and 2, is not as crucial anymore. You can instead farm away in the jungle and it's relatively hard for the enemy jungler to catch you. This early fighting not being as important is good for Daji because she isn't the best fighter early, and with warriors not being as present in the jungle anymore, these aren't the same threat in the early stages where she would otherwise be heavily bullied out and shut down by warriors. With Daji, you will see a build that is very familiar here because it's the same one that we already used for Susanoo. The reason being is that she has all the same capabilities to basically one-shot a squishy, and that's how you want to play her, and that's her main goal. So again, you want to build a Crusher, Warrior Tabai, Heartseeker, then Hydra's Lament or Brawler Speedstick, then Mage's Blessing or Mantle of Discord, and Titan's Bane. For a more detailed explanation of this build, refer to Susanoo, and in this context note that Daji also is one of those gods that will frequently proc at least 3 instances of Crusher very reliably, making the item very strong for her. All things considered, we are expecting some nerfs for Daji in the next patch, however, she might still be relatively decent afterwards depending on how strong the nerfs are, so she's probably not off the radar when the nerf hits. And with that, thank you guys very much for watching, I hope this was informative and insightful. Also, thanks again to ALPHAJACKAL for joining me here. The links for his Twitter and his Twitch will be down below. Definitely make sure to check those out. ALPHAJACKAL is very helpful when it comes to not only information surrounding the game on Twitter, but also on his Twitch, where you can pretty much ask him anything and he will give you very well-funded advice, as well as doing tier lists there for those of you who are into that. So head over there, say hi from me, and see you all in the next one tomorrow. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit the sub button and hit the bell, it really helps me out. DukeSloth, out. So I actually figured out my demonetization issue and it was my outro. As such, feel free to click any of the links around here right now. There will be new outro music as soon as I find something nice. Until then, as you guys requested, I will do the outro music myself. You're welcome.